Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with a Career Coach. I am joined by three special people that will introduce themselves in just a minute here, but I'm very excited to have them as guests. As we always do with Coffee and a Career Coach, we talk about our coffee, but we were just saying that I think Micah is the only one with coffee today. So I just have my water now. I already drink my coffee, but I did get a chai tea latte with a shot of espresso this morning. So started my Friday out strong. As always, my name is Erica O'Toole. I'm Associate Director in the Career Development Center, and we will be talking about the Exercise Science Program in just a moment. So I will go ahead and hand it over to you guys to introduce yourselves.
Sure. Hello, folks. My name is Naveen Sharma. I'm a faculty member, professor here in the Division of Exercise and Health Sciences, and I've been around Central since August 2013.
I'll go next. Mike Azul, also in exercise science division. My area is clinical exercise, so that's courses focused on cardiac rehabilitation and diagnostic stress testing. I guess if we're talking about coffee, I actually have some coffee. I drink my coffee black. And let's see, I've been at CMU. Kind of a strange journey, I guess, but I've been officially here now since 2019. And before that, I was between 2013 to 2017. So I've had 2 stints now at Central.
Awesome.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul O'Connor, another faculty member, professor here in the School of Exercise and Health Sciences. I teach mainly in the health fitness concentration that we'll mention in a little bit, so more towards strength and conditioning, personal training, working with everything from general population to elite athletes. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. Coffee-wise, I'm told I'm wired enough without caffeine, so I don't need it.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining me. If we have anybody watching that has questions, please feel free to submit those and I will present them to the group. But I'm going to go ahead and get us started with what can I do with a degree in exercise science?
All right. So I guess I'll go through that first, just a quick introduction. So the exercise science major here at Central Michigan is a pretty popular major. We're generally in the top 3 largest majors historically over the last few decades. We have 3 actual options in the exercise science major: kinesiology, health, fitness, and performance, as well as clinical exercise physiology. So folks who enroll in our program and graduate from our program have many different options that they can choose from. Sometimes they can go right into the job market, right? Work in the field of exercise science, or whether it be a clinical position or working in a gym setting, working with teams, or it can be preparatory for more school later on, right? So it could be the exercise major provides a lot of prerequisites for a lot of programs in the health sciences, the allied health sciences. So physician's assistant, PT, physical therapy type program, nursing, med school. Those are all the things that our students generally engage in. What would you say, Micah? Something similar?
Yeah. So, I can speak specifically to our clinical program, but the students in that program really have a lot of options. They can move right from undergrad into actual clinical practice, and that's working in the field of cardiac rehabilitation and diagnostic stress testing for heart disease. And also there's the courses are really centered on understanding hemodynamics and understanding cardiovascular function, pulmonary function. So you get a lot of hands-on learning. And so students have options where, okay, maybe I want to work for a year, work for several years in cardiac rehab, and then apply to maybe a postgraduate clinical program. Many students stay in cardiac rehab their whole entire career. So it gives you a strong foundation, but also gives you options, right? And I think that's the core. I think when someone leaves an undergraduate degree, they should honestly be able to do something with that degree. I think that's super, super important. You shouldn't have to go to graduate school, and I think our our clinical program. And I think Dr. O'Connor can talk about the health, fitness, and performance as well. But the clinical program gives you that option.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with our health, fitness, and performance major, and we have a minor in that too, that it prepares students really well to go straight into the workforce. Also prepares really well for PTPA school, as Mike had just said, but it really prepares students well to get into the workforce. We have an internship at the end, so they get real world experience, and then a lot of our, both for clinical and health fitness, get offered jobs from their internships. And a lot of people see health fitness as, picking stuff up and putting it down, but there's a lot more to it than that. Everything from your traditional, what you think of personal training, going to a gym and working with a trainer in the gym. We have a lot of students in strength and conditioning, collegiate strength and conditioning. We've got really good links with our own athletics department here. So we've got numerous students who intern down there, get some really good experience with the strength and conditioning coaches. We have people working in corporate fitness, which is a really big area right now. So a lot of big corporations are employing exercise science graduates to work with their employees to keep them healthy. And that works corporate, industrial. So there's just so many things you can do with the degree outside of the traditional kind of personal training or graduate school. There's just so much more.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you talked about that as well, because we tell students all the time, think outside the box with your major. There's so many different things that you can do. And clearly this program has many different options. Could you also, this kind of goes along with the previous question, but could you describe the kinds of things exercise science majors can do?
Right. So if, again, they can work right in the clinic, right in the healthcare system, we prepare them with a lot of the prerequisite courses, a lot of anatomy, a lot of physiology, biomechanics, all the things that people can be hands-on with, right? Whether it's in the clinical setting, whether it's in an educational setting, whether it's in a corporate setting, they can do all of those things. They also can pick up electives in other majors, right? Which might put them in a track that's some place that we don't even think about, right? That's not traditional. So, for example, we had graduates come back to us, and when we see them on the street, like, what are you up to now? We had one student who was the regional rep for Peloton, right? With that, and we didn't even think that that's an option that we even cater to. I had a student come up to me who's working for Apple, and I was like, well, we don't teach you guys how to program anything or computer stuff at that level. And they're like, no, well, we're working with Apple because we're helping with the functions of the Apple Watch with all the health and fitness features, right? Because they just don't need computer programmers. They need people to apply that to real life. Guys, I think we had a recent graduate who's heading up some stuff at St. Jude Children's Hospital, right? Mm-hmm. So they're working at that prestigious cancer center there at St. Jude's. So they can be working not just locally, but around the country as well. So I think very preparatory for a lot of those types of positions.
Mike or Paul, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I to piggyback on that, as far as what we mean by clinical is, out of undergrad, these students are working actually with cardiac patients. So they're rehabbing a cardiac patient, and that means supervising the individual, monitoring their exercise program. If you think about it in the context of physical therapy, it's essentially a physical therapy for the heart. And so with an undergraduate degree, you are in charge of that patient, and you're daily working with them, weekly working with them and such, and monitoring their safety and making sure that they're progressing in their programming. And then also, we've had a lot of students working in cath lab. So the cath lab is where someone will have imaging done on their heart or potentially have a stent implanted. And I just received a message from one of our recent grads who's working in a cath lab in Kalamazoo. And she said they have 2 new openings and recruiting some of our clinical students here. And starting pay, I think, is around $65,000 with a sign-on bonus, out of undergrad with an exercise science degree from Central. So I think that's really fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just so many options that we're learning too is, a lot of our students will look at other minors, as Naveen mentioned, and sales is starting to be a popular one, entrepreneurship, people looking to open their own facilities. We've had students go into design, so designing or manufacturing clothing, but sports specific. Again, something that you mightn't think of initially with an exercise science degree, but they have the exercise science background, the knowledge background, the physiology background to help design the clothing, which was really cool to hear.
That's awesome. It seems like there's so many options, big companies, smaller companies, starting your own company, lots of different things. So with these majors, what minors are best to pair with the exercise science major?
Yeah, I suppose I just mentioned, a couple of the sales and entrepreneurship that we're seeing more and more of, but traditionally one really popular one is nutrition. So a lot of our students would take a nutrition minor, and they really complement each other really well. Like the exercise part and then making sure that you're fueling, whether it's with your elite athletes or a cardiac population, they still need to fuel properly and recover properly. So that's a really popular one. We have a lot of students who do what's the exact title? The drug abuse.
Substance use
minor as well, which is another very popular one. Psychology is another really popular one, which helps students. A lot of times people understand I should exercise, but I don't. So the psychology can add that element as to why don't they, and how do we maybe encourage and help that person get to a stage where they're actually exercising.
I'll also say that we have a health fitness minor for our program. So if some students who are in our program, like the clinical option or something, might do health fitness, but also if students are across campus in other majors, they potentially could really benefit from doing a minor health and health and fitness and performance, which would again give them more options across different career fields and such.
Yeah, we get a lot of the biomed type students who are interested in that health, fitness, and performance minor, because a lot of the time they're interested, they work out themselves. They want to find a little bit more, or they're pre-PA, pre-PT, pre-med school. And those classes give you hands-on experience that you mightn't get in the biology lab. So they give you that hands-on experience working with humans. One of our classes, you get to work with your own client for a semester, or we're now branching out that you can get to work with a sports team for a semester. So for the first time this fall, we have someone who's going to work with women's basketball for the semester. So it's, really good option for anyone interested in that area.
That's great. It sounds like a lot of hands-on experience.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the real selling points to our degree is just the hands-on experience you get, not only with your fellow students, but we have the option then where, university members come in, professors from other departments come in, and they work with our students for a semester, which is great for the professors, but also great for our students to meet different people, different backgrounds, and get that experience.
Absolutely. And something we always encourage in the Career Development Center is job shadowing, internship, any type of experience you can get. So it sounds like that's very much incorporated into this program.
Absolutely.
So can you tell me a little bit about any professional certifications that would be available to students?
So I suppose I can go again, because we encourage it, particularly our health, fitness, and performance. We really encourage the certification, not only because it looks great in your resume that you've done that extra little bit, but also, you become part of a professional organization. We just had a local conference last week, and we had a couple of students go to it, which was great. And now they're looking at getting certifications. But our two main ones are the American College of Sports Medicine and then the National Strength and Conditioning Association. And they provide certifications both in the performance realm and more towards the clinical realm as well. So students get those certifications, and Micah might talk a little bit more about some of the clinical stuff that we're really good at covering. But in the health, fitness, and performance, one of the major ones, it's called CSCS, and you become a certified strength and conditioning coach, or certified strength and conditioning specialist, I should say. And I mean, what sounds fancier than specialist, right? So you can leave here not only with your degree, but being a specialist too.
Right. And you just sit for those certifications around the completion of your degree once you complete some prerequisite courses.
And we cover the vast, most of the material is covered, and you just book the exam and sit for it and hope for the best.
Micah, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, so there's also a few clinical certifications, and our students, the clinical students, part of the program is doing an internship, and that's usually in a hospital setting. So you can gain clinical hours that way. And the clinical certifications do require a certain number of hours before you can sit for them. And those certifications are from the American College of Sports Medicine, and then there's another one, which is the American Association of Cardiovascular and Pulmonary Rehabilitation. And they do require, I think, upwards of 600 hours to sit for the exam. So usually students will do the internship and then work. And then during the course of their working, they'll sit for one of the clinical certifications. And most hospital systems will require a certification. Our field doesn't have licensure, or so we don't have an overall governing body. But these certifications can help establish that you are a clinical professional. So they're really a good certification, one of them to have.
Awesome. Naveen, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think, like these gentlemen said, our courses do provide you the background, so you should do very well. I think we always get the results back. We hear back from our students on how they do, and the passing rate of these certifications is like through the roof. So
that's awesome.
They're well prepared.
Yeah, and we'd encourage all our students. So some of the certifications we just mentioned, you need to be a senior or graduated or have the hours built up. But a lot of the organization also offer just a personal training certificate. So we'd always encourage our students to go try get it, particularly after their first 2 or 3 semesters. They're well prepared. And obviously it opens up some avenues. They might be able to go down and work as a personal trainer in the SAC. But also it bumps up their resume as well to have that little bit extra.
Absolutely. All that experience is great for the resume. So what trends are you currently seeing in the industry?
So I think healthcare is clearly booming, right? I mean, everywhere returns healthcare. So, I think our program definitely puts folks into that market. It's an aging population out there, right? So there's more age-associated issues that are coming up, which exercise can try to remedy, right? Help. Like exercise isn't going to cure everything, right? But we have this saying, right, that exercise is medicine. So, people exercise to the point that it's recommended. It really staves off a lot of these issues associated with aging, right? So I think we know that the field is definitely booming for healthcare, and we're putting our students in that field. Every semester, right, we keep track of these students, and we see them being successful in their new environments. And it's a source of pride for us, right, that we can put them in those healthcare fields.
Yeah, I mean, heart disease isn't on the decline. I mean, it's still the number 1 killer in the U.S. and globally. So, cardiac rehabilitation, these and ancillary fields to it are. I mean, it's sad, but they're growing, right? So there's clinical jobs available. There's a lot of opportunity in the field. There's there's going to be some movement in terms of new patients being supported for cardiac rehab. So that's going to potentially include cancer patients, individuals with diabetes, and other cardiovascular disorders as well. So the focus on treating and preventing heart disease is really at its at such a high point right now, and I think it's going to continue to grow. And these are, as Dr. Sharma said, there's so much opportunity right now for motivated students who are graduating. It's just endless opportunity right now, especially in healthcare.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think obviously, we've an aging population. We've also got modern medicine is wonderful. People are living longer, but people are also realizing that I need to be mobile. I need to get up and be able to move. And we're seeing people kind of recognize that a little bit earlier. So we have a lot of opportunities with that age group, but also just in general, we're seeing a trend towards people being aware that exercise is important. One of the good things maybe of social media is people are seeing more and more of it, but still not in a position maybe to know how to start, when to start, how to, so that's where our students come in helping that. We're also seeing a boom in adolescent performance. Kids are more and more active or playing more and more sports. So there's more opportunities in that field as well, where parents are looking for that extra little bit, the next LeBron or the next Jared Goff or whatever it's going to be. So we're seeing a big increase in those centers opening up. Even just in town here, one opened recently for baseball. So we're definitely seeing more of those opportunities too.
I'll tell you kind of an interesting interaction I had. So I think it was a few weeks ago, I was talking to a physician, and he says to me that he's like, I'm really starting to respect you exercise guys, meaning us, faculty in exercise science. And I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. And he says, I didn't. He's like, do you know that fitness is the number? This is what he says to me. Do you know that fitness is the number one predictor of mortality? And I'm like, yes, we've known this for decades, like decades. Like your fitness level that you have can absolutely predict your mortality within 5 years. And so, just simply, cardiovascular fitness, skeletal muscle fitness, like all these things, absolutely predict how well you'll do as you get older. There's just no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very interesting. And also funny that he thought he had a breakthrough there. So last question for all of you. Internships are always a hot topic with our students as well. And so if you could just address a little bit about, the internship experience for your program, how they get internships, all of that.
Sure. Yeah, I can start with that. So the students start the internship process roughly 2 semesters before they go out for internship. And so essentially we hold their hands in helping them find the internship. They do it on their own, but we give them all the tools. We give them an internship guide that offers them, contact information for sites that we have affiliation agreements with. So Central, in our program, we have agreements with clinics across the state and nationally that uphold a certain standard that we have established with them. And so again, the student is given all the instruction they need to go out and apply for the internship. And the goal is for them to land the internship either that semester or at the very latest 1 semester before they go out for the clinical internship. So it's a very smooth process, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we have, so at Health Fitness, we have this very similar structured internship that last semester you go out and work, and that can be anything from the person who just wants to work at the local gym to high performance centers. We always place people with our own strength and conditioning staff here in athletics. Just recently, I've added Notre Dame are looking for students from us, the private, personal, corporate wellness, all over the country. We've had students in Phoenix and California and Florida, but all the top local sites we have access to as well. But then we also encourage students to do other internships or other experiences that aren't that structured experience. So just yesterday, I introduced a sophomore to our strength and conditioning staff. So we had one of our classes down there where we had our strength and conditioning staff teach, so we get a little bit more hands-on. So I invited him along, introduced him to the staff, and he's going to start an internship in the fall. So hopefully that's something that, over the next couple of years, he builds on opportunities to get jobs there, to, maybe some of our students will internship with our strength and conditioning staff, and then it'll end up getting a paid master's. So they'll get their their stipend for the masters and things down there. So there's just so many opportunities outside of that structured internship. We have another class, which is an experience class. So our students go to different venues around town. So it might be, if they're interested in PT, they might go to Mountain Town Fitness, who are always brilliant. It might be CrossFit Worthy. It might be one of the local gyms. It might be our strength and conditioning staff or medical staff with our athletes. And they just shadow for 5 weeks, but get that experience. So it's something that we just really encourage. We all know how important the classroom is, but we also understand the limitations of the classroom. And even though we're so lab focused, sometimes just me telling them, demonstrating just doesn't hit the same as them in the IAC with. Yesterday, they were looking at lacrosse and men's basketball train. I can't replicate that in the classroom. So I think we're really good here in that we understand that, and we really encourage our students to get out there and get real world experience. And whenever we can, we help.
Great.
Yeah, so exactly, like we have those formalized associations, and some students again seek out some themselves, and if they bring back some ideas to us, we go and vet those programs, see if they can fulfill an internship requirement at those locations, and it might be as easy as communicating with those folks to sign off on that. But again, we have some that are very structured, some that are a little more open, but there's a lot of variety there as well for those opportunities.
That's awesome. I mean, we promote internships so much because we know how not only important it is for their resume, as I'm sure all of you agree, but also just their own professional development. I mean, they're so much more prepared when they go out into the field. So it sounds like you all have a lot of opportunities for students.
Yeah, and those stories, right, where we hear about while students are on their internship, the places want to hire them right before they even finish. And, it's like, well, finish that up so you can actually graduate. Yeah. And then move on, right? But those students are in demand, right? And that's a great thing to hear.
Yeah, and we'll get contacted every semester by a site that mightn't have had an intern in the last year or two, just the way numbers work and things. And they're like, can we get one this semester? Where really, we haven't had a student in a while. So hearing that, and then seeing our students progress, right? When you see them almost like leave and then come back at the end of the internship, and it's a whole different person because of the experience they got, the confidence they got. A lot of times it's simply them telling me is like, I knew what they were talking about. And you're like, right? That they got that experience, then didn't feel out of their depth. So that alone for me is always great to see, is just to talk to them after internship and realize that how much they knew and how much they were able to apply and how well they did at these sites is always great.
And I'll add one more thing too, I would say the bulk of our students who go to an internship oftentimes get offered a job from that internship site. It's just very, very common.
Awesome. Yeah, which is such a great gateway into a professional position for them. Well, any final thoughts from anyone?
No, I mean, obviously we think that exercise science is a great major, great opportunity, great learning platform for students to start off their careers. And again, we provide all the tools, right, for folks to be successful afterwards. So I really encourage folks out there to take a look at our program, because I think it's trending it's appropriate for the current workplace trends.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think we provide students so many options. They can work. I think that's really key. You could take what you've learned, and you can take that and you can work in the field with the skills that you've learned in the classroom and in the laboratory and in your learning experiences off campus. So you take those tools and you put them to work for you. But you also have the foundation to apply to PA school and apply to PT school in medical school and all these post-grad programs. And I'd say that we have a tremendous success rate of our students who apply to these programs. I mean, I don't have the exact percentages, but students are just so successful in their applications. And I think it's because we give them both that hands-on experience and exposure, and I think the core there is you have to be able to work with a human, right? You have to be able to understand and talk to and assess a human being if you want to work in medicine. And I think if you want to work in any aspects of our field, for certain.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I'll add in as well, as we maybe didn't mention, is that we're all active researchers, and we've all got teams of graduate and undergraduate students that help. So right now I've probably got 6 undergraduate students who help me. Everything from watching to full on. I've got 2 undergrad students who pretty much run a project on their own. They're so good, but they've gone through a year of training and confidence. And so they're getting all that experience as well, like in-house research experience, working with our student athletes, working with different populations. So that's a really important selling point, I think, for a program as well, is the fact that, as I've got freshmen and sophomores already interested in coming to help out. So it's great for us, but it's also great for the student as well.
Definitely. That's awesome. Well, it's hard to believe, but we're already at the end here. I learned a ton. I really enjoyed listening to all the different options for our students. I know I can share that now as well with students. And I just want to thank all of you for joining me today. I think it's really beneficial for our students considering the program or even in the program to kind of explore what their options are. So thank you all for joining me, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Friday.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Thanks so much. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.